I'm going to take a look at a little bit of an older game. I believe it was released around 2009, maybe 2008. This is Le Havre. It's kind of the follow-up game that Uwe Rosenburg did to Agricola, and there is another game after this that kind of makes up a loose trilogy called At the Gates of Loyang. But this takes place in I believe Le Havre, France, and you're kind of managing different goods that are shipping in through the port, and you're building some buildings to help your shipping business grow. It's a Euro style game, so we'll open it up and take a look at it. It has lots of little cardboard chits to it. But start out, you get a bag full of bags to store all the little pieces in. I'm probably going to end up using Plano to store some. You know, I don't know how much that'll do depending on how the bits are. I get 2 packs of cards. It looks like it comes with a expansion, maybe. I'm sure I'm going to butcher this. The Grand Hamo. I believe that's an expansion for it. And it's got another pack of cards in it. See, one of them's a wooden crane. It's like you have your player tokens, you know, 5 player tokens, 5 different colors. A token to show where a building's occupied by a player, and a token to show where on the turn track you are before the turn ends and you have to feed all your people. They do have this released on the iOS, I believe, also. And I'm not sure about the other game platforms. But you get your instruction book. And a big diagram to it. So there you go. And it is 12 pages. Looks like they have a little addition to it that maybe gives it looks like it gives a description of all the buildings and how they work, and then kind of looks like it maybe gives tips on how you get some different resources in the game, how to go about doing it. Looks like we have some playboards here. So instead of having a big fold-out board, I believe it's kind of like Agricola. You kind of assemble the board together. So you have kind of the main board here. See where the different goods would come in. And this is where the ships are, keep track of the turn. And then you have some different buildings up here. It looks like the board. You have another piece of board. But you have the middle piece of board in between all that. So you can kind of see where some different buildings would be that you could build, and some different supplies that you have, where the different offers are to go along, where you would put ships to build them, and this would be the end of the round card. You have sheets of tokens, and they look to be two-sided. Of course, you have your money. Looks like you have a captain's wheel. I believe these are some different tokens that can come up for what's available on a particular turn. that would be added into the supply as the turn tracks. But you have cattle and grain, wood, fish, clay, coal, hide, steel, or iron. But on the back side of them, like the back side of iron, you could make it steel. The back side of clay can become brick. The back side of coal can become coke. Fish can become smoked fish. Wood can become charcoal. Grain can become bread. Cattle can become meat. So looks like you get 2 sheets with those resources that are pretty much the same, but then you have some different things done at the bottom there. Some more sheets, pretty much the same tokens on them. Just I'm not sure what these are. If those are, I believe that's how much food you owe at the end of a turn, so I think that changes out as the game progresses. You see all the tokens for the resources are pretty much the same. Same thing here, all those same resources kind of laid out the same on the sheet. So that's sheet number 3. Some more of how the resources would be available each turn. And you got 2 more sheets like that also. These have little ships at the bottom that look like they determine how much food goes into the pot. So that's 5 sheets altogether worth of tokens. I'll just flip through the cards real quick here. It's like you have a turn overview card. It looks like you get one for each color, so each player could have their own turn overview card. Have some loan cards. I guess if you don't have enough resources to feed your workers at the end of the game, you'd have to take one of these, and then you'd have to pay it whenever it came due. You have some harvest cards that show looks like they show their ships on one side, and it's got what they do on the harvest on the other. See, there's quite a few ships here. So 1, 2, 3. You can see they get a little better. But it shows how much that they'll pay out when it's time to feed your workers, depending on how many people are in the game. And you got kind of the same thing on the front side right here. It looks like it's set for a 3-player game now. So you get a bunch of ships here, and they go from wood all the way up to luxury liners. Looks like you have some special building cards. So these are some of the buildings that you can build to try to increase your net value before the end of the game. The person with the most net value ends up winning. So they're all back the same. So they sit in a deck. So you get things like a hunting lodge, a coal trader, a furrier, leather, a kiln. It's like a luxury yachts in there, a feedlot. So lots of buildings that allow you to manipulate the resources to change them, or to get more of a resource if it's not available somewhere else on the board. So a good chunk of buildings right there. Looks like we have some cards here that determine how much at the end of each turn you would have to pay. Or this may be startup, I'm not quite sure what these are. These, I believe they're startup cards that tell you how to run each game depending on how many players there are. Looks like we have some more buildings here. So lots and lots of buildings in this version. I've only played the iOS version and not very well. Some of these are standard buildings, so I believe they're automatically in the game. You see it has check marks in the back to depending on how many players so if you had one player or two players, you wouldn't use that card. So a lot of these are standard buildings that come in the game. You have some starting buildings here, which allow you to build other buildings. Let's see, do have a few more special buildings in here. The majority of them are going to be special buildings, I believe. So you add about that many more special buildings to it. And there are things that don't necessarily have to make the game flow, whereas the other buildings there, you pretty much need those to keep the resources flowing how they need to. I'm sure if you're a more advanced player about this, you could construct it yourself to do, but you have like a marketplace, a sawmill, a fishery. Most of these things allow you to get the resources if you can't get them through the standard available method. They allow you to change and manipulate those resources to the basic things you need to keep the game flowing. So that's everything that comes in Le Havre.